Welcome up, Ghost. Are you 18 plus?
Yo, good afternoon. Yeah, I am.
Wonderful. May we get your pronouns, please?
He, him.
Excellent. You believe in a god?
Yeah.
Which one would that be?
Were you a young age, bro? How
I
come
was
you're gay?
not. Can you answer my question? Which god do you believe in?
Hello, new guest.
Welcome up, Ghost. Are you 18 plus?
Oh, yeah, I'm 26.
Wonderful. May we get your pronouns, please?
He, him.
Do you believe in a god?
Yeah.
Which one would that be?
The Christian God, Jesus.
Gotcha. So Ace is going to have a conversation with you. Is that all right?
Who? Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Sweet.
Okay. So, do you think your God is all good?
It depends what you define as good. I would go with yes because he's pretty much like correlate to like love and stuff. Anything that's like positive.
Okay. Do you believe he's all knowing?
Yes.
Are you the type to believe that the Old Testament represents a different God, or do you think it's both the same God?
Same God, different time.
Okay. There was a reason I asked that question. I've recently figured out that some people don't think that's the same God, so I wanted to.
Oh, what? That's weird.
Well, the
Okay.
reason is, I can tell you the reason behind it if you would like.
Oh yeah, tell me. That's interesting.
So the Old Testament represents like a vengeful God. And you see that throughout the Old Testament because in the Old Testament you have the flood story, you have a bunch of genocides happening, you have the laws that talk about stoning women who don't bleed on their wedding night, or like there's a bunch of different things in the Old Testament that you don't exactly find in the New Testament.
I can see that because yeah, like a lot of that was prophecy. A lot of it can be like it just depends on the context of each scripture.
So the one I'm going to bring to you and ask you about is going to be Deuteronomy 22:13 through 21. Have you heard of that one yet?
Tell me the verse. I might be able to like know what you're talking about based off like the actual verse itself. Like if you could read it to me.
Deuteronomy 22, 13 through 21 says that if a man goes into a woman that whom he has married, or whom he has taken up as a wife, depending on what you're reading, then
I know which one you're talking about.
the ones that talk about. Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
When the man goes into a woman whom he has married and dislikes her, is displeased with her, or hates her, depending on which version you're reading, then the man can go to the council.
Can you say the verse again? Sorry, hold on.
Deuteronomy 22:13 through 21.
Okay, you can say it.
Then the man can go to the council and say, well, when I went into this woman, I did not find evidence of her virginity. The mother and the father of the woman go to the place where they had consummated the marriage, grab the cloth that they lay on, bring it out to the council. They lay it out. If there's this evidence of virginity that they're looking for, then the man owes the father 100 shekels of silver and must remain married to the woman for the rest of his life. Now, if there is not this evidence of virginity, then the woman is to be taken out in front of her father's house. All the men in the town are to gather around and throw stones at her until she unalives.
Yeah, that could be like just a story because even then when God was claiming like before that, God also said that though that like at that time the word was grape. I don't really know the Hebrew translation, but essentially it was like if one grape you should be put down. So I think that's the one Deuteronomy. Hold on, I gotta actually go with the verse.
Don't stay teacup for too long, or else you're going to get dropped. And it's not going to be me dropping. It's just
Possibly. Welcome up, guest. Are you 18 plus?
Yes.
Wonderful. May we get your pronouns, please?
Yeah, he, him.
Excellent. Do you believe in a God?
Yes.
Which one?
The Christian God.
Wonderful. Ace is going to have a conversation with you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's fine.
okay. Do you believe your God is all good?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, so, but it depends. Like, what do you think is good here? Like, what do you think is good?
So good is the Hang on. I had to stop typing real quick. Give me a second. So when I say good, I mean not causing unnecessary harm to another individual, right?
Do you think that's good? I feel like you think that's good?
To not cause harm to another individual?
Yeah, you could, but is that good? Is that the definition of what good is?
For me, yes.
So, that's merely it. That good is just not harming other individuals, really? Is that what good is?
I said
So,
causing unnecessary harm.
causing unnecessary harm. So is that merely what good is? Are you reducing it just to that, or like, are you gonna elaborate?
You have the definition you would like to use.
Yeah, but that's not the definition I would like to use because like you're being like an ethical what?
I just ask, what is the definition you would like to use?
Yeah, but you're asking that as if there's one sort of like definition of good because clearly, right, when a Christian is speaking
What? You
with
just said that is not the
could I finish?
definition. You just said that was the definition you do not want to use, right?
No, I didn't say that though. Could you actually let me speak without being interrupted? I never said that. Rather, I said, is that the only definition that you're going to use? Are you going to reduce it to that good can be defined as an action that does not unnecessarily harm another individual? Are you reducing it to just that? Because like that, I feel like that's a weird position. Like ethical naturalists, they don't really hold to that view. They say that good is a property, but would you say it's a multitude of things or just that? Because I feel like you're reducing it to this one thing.
There's many different definitions of good, but for the sake of this conversation, there is a reason why I say that specific thing.
Okay. Not unnecessarily harming another individual. Do you feel like that's a definition that's up to debate?
The definition of good?
Yeah. Do you feel like, for example, not unnecessarily harming another individual? Do you feel like people would disagree with that?
Well, that's a big aspect of it.
So you think people would disagree with that because I feel like firstly, I feel like this is like a huge like irreducible thing because like good if you're talking about just ethical naturalists, what do they say good as well? It's just they would say it's a property, something like pleasure. What is evolutionarily adapted? What links with your desire, satisfaction. But it seems like are you reducing it just to that?
Considering the fact that we're arguing against the morality of your God, right?
Yeah. I'm wondering how you're doing that though, especially like, are you a moral realist? Do you think like morals exist outside of your mind, like independently of your mind?
I'm a subjective person.
Okay, so if you're a subjective person, right, then would you say if you believe in subjective morality, would you say that God ought not to do certain actions in the Bible? Would you say that?
Yes, there's certain actions in the Bible that I do not agree with. There's a lot that I
Okay,
don't agree with in the Bible.
okay, but could we just clarify because you're saying you're not agreeing with it? Are you agreeing with it in like a descriptive way? Like I preferentially don't agree with this, or are you saying it in like a normative way, saying that, for example, God ought not to do this action. God ought not to.
So,
Like, which one would you say?
okay, listen. Right? This is not about what I believe. right? I'm trying to see what your belief is and I'm trying to understand it. I'm not trying to host a debate about what the definition of a word means. What I'm trying
Yeah,
to do is try to comprehend where your brain is at and why you think this stuff is good. So, like Deuteronomy 22:13 through 21.
yeah,
Right?
that's cool, but like going into biblical
So,
dialectics, like I'm aware of all these verses. Like you can bring to me any verse, but like I'm
you
not
have
really
30
interested.
minutes. You have 25 minutes now. I would like to get into the actual topic of the debate, not about what a word means.
Yeah. Could I finish? Because I'm saying that
No.
you've
Because you keep
you probably
trying,
had this.
what you're
Yeah,
trying to do is you're trying to fill bro shit.
I'm not Phil,
And
bro.
I
And it's just
don't,
that your position
yes,
makes
you
no
are.
sense. Your position makes no sense. It's understandable. It's understandable if you can't
So,
defend your own position,
my
you rather
question
attack mine.
is,
That's fine.
this isn't a debate on what I believe. It is a
Yeah, it's not
debate
a
on
debate, but
what
you're
you
trying to force a discussion. If this is a discussion, it goes.
child. Child. If I mute you, that means stay muted. Now,
Child, I'm an adult.
You're acting like a
well,
kid, so we're
you're
gonna call you one.
exactly.
Yeah,
You're
so if I'm a
trying to
kid, I
talk
shouldn't be
over me.
allowed up on TikTok, right? You ask my age, so
You're
don't call me a kid,
acting
okay?
like a kid.
Have fun. Have fun.
Acting. Welcome up, Ghost. Are you 18 plus?
What's up, guys?
Are you
Hi,
18
are you over
plus?
18?
How you guys doing?
Are you 18
Um,
plus?
Yes, I'm 23, but how old are you guys?
Wonderful. May we get your pronouns, please?
I'm he, him.
Excellent. Do you believe in a God?
Yes, I do. I do.
Which one would that be?
Um, I'm Christian, but I would still tell you that it comes in different in God in the Bible. It comes in different shapes and forms. So, yeah,
So you're a Christian.
yeah. But I'm Christian by denomination. By denomination, yes.
Sounds good. Ace is gonna have a conversation with you. Is that okay?
Sure, bro. If you have
Wonderful.
any questions, you can feel free to ask me first. If not, I can go up.
okay, so do you believe your God is all good?
Of course, I think he's all good. He's all good. He's slow to anger, and he's just.
Do you believe he's all knowing?
Sorry.
Do you believe he's all knowing?
Of course, I think he's all knowing, but I will still say that doesn't mean that he's not incapable of change.
Okay, but at one point he was. So you think he is capable of change?
The reason why I'm saying that is because he created us in his image and likeness. That means that just as much power that he has, we have the potential to have. We can deny him, we can accept him, and that's free will. So that means that if we as people creators, like he didn't like make us like slaves or whatever, right? So if we decide to deny him, he can change the way he interacts with us and how he manifests himself.
Okay, so I have a question. Do you know the laws of the Old Testament?
Yeah, I do know I know that you're talking about that before I came. You talked about the Deuteronomy. You talked
Deuteronomy,
about that was yeah.
Deuteronomy 22:13 through 21 particularly, which is why I ask if
Can you read it?
Huh?
Can you read it?
Deuteronomy 22:13 through 21 says if a man goes into a woman whom he has married and dislikes her, that he can go to the council and say to the council, well, when I went into this woman, I did not find evidence of her virginity. The mother and the father are to go to the house the place where they lay at, grab the cloth that they lay on, bring it to the council, and lay it out in front of the council. If there was evidence of, quote unquote, evidence of virginity, which we'll get into that in a minute, then the man owed the father 100 shekels of silver and must remain married to the woman for the rest of his life. Now, if there was not this evidence of virginity, then the woman is to be brought out in front of her father's house. All the men in the town are to gather around, throw stones at her until unalivement.
I think we're confusing the context here, because I would say that that passage actually was more about a man not marrying or have sexual relationship with their father's wife. And so
No.
if that happens, that means that
Deuteronomy.
obviously
I don't even know where the fuck you're coming from. It's talking about marrying a virgin woman. So, what is the evidence of virginity?
no, I'm saying that in the case that they were not a virgin.
What is the evidence of virginity?
No, back then I wouldn't. I know that there was back then. I wouldn't know because obviously it doesn't go into specifics in the Bible. But if you have to go back into
What
historical,
is the evidence of virginity?
I think
What is
bursting
on
of
the
like
clock?
I think bursting that I think there's a part of the like inside the woman's I don't want to say it here on TikTok because I might get restricted.
You can say vagina.
You can actually say that here.
Yes, you can say vagina.
You can say vagina. As long as you're saying the scientific name, you're fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and like the bursting of the woman's vagina, and as we all know it, if that's the case, then it's that I don't know how they were testing it because it wasn't said in the Bible, but that's the main point.
What is on the cloth?
Sorry.
What is on the cloth?
On the clock when it comes to you said on the clock or on the clock?
On the cloth.
Cloth. CLOTH.
Yeah. Okay. Then that would seem me about blood. You know what I mean?
Okay, how did the blood get on the cloth?
What are you talking about?
So where did the blood come from?
It came from the woman.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask this question real quick. How many holes does a woman have below the belt?
Multiple, I guess. You could say depending from a normal, like we could say 2 or 3.
Oh shit. Deacon, would you like this one?
God, what are we talking about? I just got here.
He doesn't know women's anatomy at all.
No, there is a vagina. I'm sorry, it's a vagina. There is also the beehole, right, as we know it, and there's also I'm just saying that if blood comes out from any of them, that still doesn't mean that she's a virgin. It's still sexual intercourse.
Do you know what a hymen is?
Well, we're talking about virginity. Even back then,
Yes.
that is the reason why.
So
Even
I'm a woman. I know how this shit works. You do not have to mansplain it to me.
You're a
Do you
woman.
know what a hymen is?
I know what a hymen is, but that was even back then. It wasn't the only measure. It was about sexual intercourse.
Deacon,
And
will
they
you
were
make
able to
this
measure
one?
it.
I am about to die laughing.
On a
You
line.
do realize that the only thing that law allowed was the bed sheet, right? You understand that, right? Just the bed sheet. You have to come off mute. You were on mute.
My bad.
So, the burden of proof was on a bloody bed sheet. You realize that's the only proof God allows in that law, right?
Sorry, you're kind of echoing. Whatever.
God only allows a bloody bed sheet in that law. You recognize
Okay.
that, right?
Okay.
How does a bed sheet get bloody?
Well, again, from taking someone's virginity.
It can, but what is the underlying cause what causes the blood?
Penetration. How about that?
Okay, but what part of penetration what happens when it's penetrated that the blood occurs as a result? What does that cause? What
Well,
causes that?
I would tell you that it depends on what. Again, if we're talking about the back or the front end. You know, at the end of the day, to me,
I'll
blood
make
can
it
still
really
occur.
easy.
But anyway,
When you stick your baba stick in a woman's hoo-hoo, what happens inside the hoo-hoo that it starts to bleed?
oh, okay, we're talking about. I think it's called the hymen. Maybe I don't know. I'm not
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Good. Now, if the only measure in that law was that the hymen broke when he stuck his thing in her hoo-hoo, do you realize that the hymen can break outside of penetrating the hoo-hoo? Do you
Okay.
realize that? So the hymen can break riding a bike, walking, picking up a box, yelling at her, somebody, climbing a tree, anything. It can be countless things that causes a woman's hoo-hoo to bleed for that. So if a woman is riding a horse and her hymen breaks and she starts bleeding, and then 2 years later she goes to get married, never touched a man ever, she is not going to bleed because the hymen is already broke. So when her husband gets upset at her, he can say, oh no, she wasn't a virgin because she didn't bleed, even though she was a virgin and she happened to break her hymen horse riding. This creates a law that allows innocent women who were virgins and just so happened to be horse riding or lifting boxes to get unalived, according to God. Do you think that is fair? That if a woman breaks her hymen while horse riding and 2 years later when she gets to 18 and gets married, that she doesn't bleed, that we should take some rocks and bash her skull in?
No, I definitely don't think so. But I also don't think that's not the point I was trying to argue. But yes, I agree with you.
So you and I have more morals than God, because you and I would not create a law that leads to innocent women being unalived. However, God did.
I don't think so. No. And the reason why I think so is because obviously God had timeless command. Like for example, we can timeless rules, right? But there's certain directives that God gave to certain people depending on the time frame as well as a location. For example, in this case, I will tell you that there are certain laws that He gave that was more dependent towards the geographical area and their culture.
So,
And I would
do
say
you
that
think-
it was
do you
completely about
think-
human
do you
limitations.
think-
Some Christians
Do you
believe
think women's anatomy changes? Do you think the hymen changes?
it was not about change, about like evolution or changing the physical body. It was about it was about the human limitation that was actually there. For number one, number two, it was also about like I know you guys are trying to argue about if he knows everything, then he should know about this phenomenon that occurs in some women. I understand what you guys are trying to say.
46% of women bleed the first time, 54% of women do not. So it's not a phenomenon, it's just a natural thing, because the hymen is very sensitive to being able to break. Some men just are not big enough to break it. Let's be for real. So some women are born without it. Some it takes more than one time for it to break. Some men just aren't big enough to break it. The hymen can break by lifting heavy pails of water, from riding a horse, from riding a donkey, falling out of a tree, falling downstairs. So the hymen is very easy to break. The hymen would have been what caused the blood on the sheets.
I think you guys are looking at the Bible too literally. I think that's what's happening. I think like I said, you guys are forgetting context, and you guys are also looking at it too literally.
Do you not know what a law is?
A law is contextual. If you're going to talk about a law, I'm going to tell you that if you're going to be critical about ancient law, if you're going to be critical about it, I'm going to tell you that if you look at historical readings, even as we quoted to the Bible and say as well as ancient Israel, which was created with even corroborated by the Bible, I will tell you that under that interpretation, the anatomical, like I guess, mistake that you call it, tells us about like ancient beliefs concerning virginity and not and it's not about God's biological knowledge. And so I think that protects the idea that God which is knowledgeable, obviously, only by denying that God personally like let these things happen. When every day, when it was more about the cultural law that was there, I think that things get mixed up.
So, as somebody who has studied the ancient history, have you ever studied the area or like Mesopotamia, considered the Near East, where the Canaanites were located, which is where the Israelites came from?
Of course,
You have?
of course.
Oh, so do you know what the Code of Ur-Nammu is?
Sorry?
Do you know what the Code of Ur-Nammu is?
No, I don't. Actually, I don't. Can you tell me?
How about the Code of Lipit-Ishtar?
No, I don't. Look, I studied all of those things under a Christian school, right? And so it was more about reading the Bible, obviously, and we transcribing it,
Well,
as
you
well as
didn't actually
understanding
study
the
it.
cultural background, not about
So
what
you
house. It
didn't
was more about the
actually
cultural.
study it, though. That's what
It
I
was more
asked.
about
Did you study Mesopotamia? Did you study the Near East? You said
well,
yes. So I asked a
well,
little bit about the Near East, which is what I am currently looking into, and I asked you about some of the laws they had. So, like the Code of Lipit-Ishtar, it was one of their first ones. It was one of the three major ones. It's Code of Lipit-Ishtar, Code of Ur-Nammu, Code of Lipit-Ishtar, and Code of Hammurabi. You said you didn't know a single one of, you said you didn't know at least two of those. Did you at least know the Code of Hammurabi?
I know the code of Hammurabi. Yes.
Okay. So, there is a lot of laws in that one, right? There's quite a few, but nowhere in the Code of Hammurabi does it say to unalive a woman for not bleeding on their wedding night.
Um. Wait. You see, you're saying that none of those courts are talking about unaliving people for not being on their wedding night.
For not bleeding on their wedding night. There's not a law in any one of them that says to unalive a woman for bleeding on their wedding night. So Mesopotamia is the where they got a lot of their information from, right? We know this. The Code of Hammurabi is where a lot of their laws came from, but nowhere in this law does it say unalive women for not bleeding on their wedding night. They just made it a law because they wanted to unalive women because they thought that was a great purity test, which it isn't. It is a very faulty test.
And that's where I would agree with you a little bit. When you talked about I think the key point that you talked about, Shani, when you're talking about, let's go back to the passage that you said, right? You mentioned that is passage that you mentioned was Deuteronomy, right? That maybe 30 something. That is the only part that I agree with you. I feel like that's why we're a little bit too distant, right? We're talking about a story where a husband married a woman, later hit her, and accusing her of not being a virgin, right? And her parents bring evidence or tokens of virginity and all of that stuff, and then they accuse her, and then she's rejected all of that. So that was the main point of that passage in Deuteronomy. It wasn't saying that God himself was championing that, right? And I feel like, to me, that's what I was like, that's kind of crazy, right? But I would agree with you in that instance. I feel like that's where we disconnect.
Hi,
Look,
Sarah.
let me ask you: Would you agree? Would you agree that that was actually the story? That was the background. That was the context of that passage.
No. There are 613 Mosaic laws. They were given to Moses by God. This was one of those laws.
Oh my God. Okay. All right.
Why are you using your Lord's name in vain?
Yes, I know. I'm gonna apologize to God. I mean, I'm gonna be praying after this. Anyway, to me that was kind of crazy because I was kind of taking me shock. But I understand that you're trying to focus more on the fact that he could even use it. But I think that you are distinguishing a theological problem or a societal problem. So yes, for example, yes, specifically the claim that biblical law was obviously more like, no, for example, like I think that the claim that you're trying to make is that it was God who was championing this and all of that. But I would have to disagree because even earlier, before the Deuteronomy,
According to Deuteronomy 4, these were the laws given to Moses by God for his people.
but he punished oh my God, before the Deuteronomy, I'm gonna have to look for the passage again. He punished those who looked down on your partners, on and persecuted them because of that exact
Please
reason.
give me those verses.
I'm gonna have to look at it right now. Hold up, give me a
Okay,
second
then
then.
look at it then. Hi, Deacon. How are you today?
It's hot as hell and I'm sunburned from this weekend. It still hurts. But otherwise, a good day. How are you today?
I cannot hear you over the wind, GM.
Neither can I.
My earbud is sucking. I gotta replace my earbuds.
I didn't know you changed your name to Earbud.
Okay, Alex, where is it?
Okay, so we have down the book of Exodus, right? Right down in the book of Exodus. So this is a starting point. This is a starting point. I'm not going to go directly to
You said book
I'm
of
not going to go directly
Exodus.
to the
I
reading.
want the chapter and the verse.
So Exodus 23 1-7, and so what happens here is that this was before the Deuteronomy. God commands Israel not to spread this is just a beginning for my main argument, but he commands Israel not to spread false reports or assist in malicious witnesses or pervert justice.
I've read it.
That's just a start. That's just a start.
I've read it, right? So, again, in Deuteronomy 22, 13 through 21, it says, if there is the evidence of virginity, right, there is a punishment. It is to pay the father 100 shekels of silver, plus he must remain married to her for the rest of his life. We have agreed on that. I've already said that part. Now, again, what is the evidence of virginity?
No, we talk on that. We talk about that, and I agree on that. You are evidence of that it's not clear cut, or it's not right, I guess.
So this law could have been taken out, right? There's more laws, but this is the main one I want to focus on today. For you, anyways. I have other guests that I'll pass off to Deacon so he can touch on another subject. But this is the one that I have yet to find a valid response for. You're trying to say, oh, well, it says do not bear false witness. The thing is, however, the test that they have was a faulty one. This is the law that was supposedly given by God. The test is a faulty one. You said your God is all-knowing. So there's one of a couple ways this can go. Either this law wasn't given by God, which means that it's false and that what Moses said is false, or he's not all-knowing, which would excuse why he didn't know that not all women bleed the first time they have sex, or it's he just didn't care enough to not put this law, and he was okay with innocent women being stoned to unalivement for not bleeding on their wedding night.
I feel like we're taking in circles, so I'm just gonna finish writing my point because I have 7 minutes left. I'm just gonna finish my point, and the point I was trying.
The EO again?
Yeah.
You just can't get enough of us, can you?
Dude, I'm trying to get that bread.
I'm taking.
You're gonna make me rich, homie?
I'm taking. Sorry.
Oh no, I didn't mean like that.
What? You don't want to kiss me?
Benjis.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't
You
say
don't even
that.
want to kiss me.
You guys make a lot of presuppositions in here, dude. Hey, are you guys familiar with the philosophy of science?
Explain it.
So it's the concept of effectively grounding the presuppositions used for science itself. So like the scientific method presupposes things like identity over time, universal constants, the law of non-contradiction. Like if you have ones and zeros that make computers, that presupposes that 1 isn't 0 and that 0 isn't 1, right? So like there's a lot of it just goes into the philosophy of the presuppositions that the scientific method uses. Like if you're gonna do a science experiment and say that through my experiment I've concluded that X is true, well, you need to know what true means for you to do that experiment and come out with anything that's coherent in knowledge.
Sarah, request up. I'm gonna let the philosophy person that deals with the philosophy. Fucking Sarah, where are you?
Sephiroth?
Yeah,
Is
Sarah.
that guy the guy that was up here before?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the one you were talking
I
about.
didn't hear too much of what he was talking about. Oh, was I talking to him before?
Yeah, you were
Yeah,
talking
you've
to him the other day.
talked to me.
Oh, cool. If it's the guy I'm thinking. Yeah, he's a pretty smart dude.
Of science. What does all that nonsense about the philosophy of science do for proving God good or not? Just out of curiosity.
Well, so it would be a part of like the tag argument that proves God's existence, and then if God exists, then by definition he's good.
Sarah, get the fuck up here.
It should be good when he orders grape and baby unaliving. Are you saying by definition?
Yeah, like you can
babies is
use like anecdotes to try and say God's not good, but like what I'm trying to prove is that good is within the essence of God himself. So it's like you might feel bad about God's decision once, but that doesn't mean that God didn't make a good decision.
So
Okay,
wouldn't
so-
evil be in the essence of God too?
Pardon me?
Wouldn't evil be in the essence of God?
No, we don't believe that evil has ontology.
Why do you believe
Evil
good
is a
has
privation of a thing. Because
Why do
evil's
you
a
believe
privation
good?
of a thing.
Why not? Why is not evil? Why is good? So evil is the deprivation of good. Why can't good be the deprivation of evil? Why can't good simply be the lack of evil, rather than the
Right,
opposite?
because that's not, again, this is why you have to prove the existence of God first, because in scripture it mentions that evil is not something created by God, but it does mention that God is good. Right? So
a
we can
biased- so a
infer
biased
we
book
can
is what you're going
infer
off of?
I'm not done, dude. We can infer that evil is the abstract, the how would you say? The privation of a thing, which is good, which is God, right?
So
That's why
because a fairy
inequity
tale
is
book-
is disobedience.
So a fairy tale book told you God was good, so you have to come up with all that philosophy jargon. to
You can
try
say
to
it's a fairy
justify
tale
it?
book, but it's the best-selling book of all human history, and it happens to be true through a tag argument that you can't contend with. That's why you went with an anecdote,
Your
not a
tag
philosophy.
argument doesn't actually prove anything. It's just a bunch of words.
If
and it
it's a
still doesn't prove
reductio
God.
that disproves everything except for my worldview. So yes, it does prove my worldview.
Okay, so show me how tag proves your fairy tales are correct. Please illustrate to everyone. Show us how tag proves fairy tales are
Right.
real.
So what's your worldview?
In regards to what? Because I asked you a
What do you-
question and now you're dodging. I asked you
What do you believe
show
is
us how
the?
tag-
No, I'm not.
Show us
Tag
how
is
tag
a
proves fairy
worldview
tales are real.
comparison argument, correct? So I'm actually
Then show
starting
me.
tag is what I was doing. Yeah. So
Okay.
what's your worldview?
My-
Let's compare them and see who has better
That your
explanatory
God is
power.
that your God is an evil fairy tale creature who victimizes women and kids because it.
Yeah, I know
gets
you're
them
trying
off
to
for
be
whatever
aggressive
reason.
towards Christianity. I'm asking you
I'm
to
not
justify
aggressive.
your own
Calm down,
worldview.
princess. calm down, princess. I'm not aggressive.
And now you're doing
I
ad
asked you a
hominems.
question. You're saying, tag, what's my worldview? What is my worldview? How does that prove a fairy tale is
Yeah,
real?
you can't justify your worldview because you can't justify
can you.
knowledge claims. Yes, I
You
can.
can't justify yours. Your claim is from a magic fairy tale book. So where do you actually
No,
get
it's not.
evidence that God exists?
The necessary
get evidence?
precondition for knowledge is God.
No, it isn't. That's what you want it to
There
be.
is-
Now prove it. Prove it. You say you can prove it. Show me the evidence. You want Sarah to come up here and get you to fucking dog walk yourself into
Can't.
dodging your
Hey,
evidence?
I is necessary precondition for knowledge, which is a transcendental, and your
claiming
brain
he is-
doesn't have access.
That's you pretending. That's you making a claim.
Listen,
you can't back
there's
up
three
that
camps.
evidence any.
There's three camps, right? It's either God is eternal, your brain is eternal, or nature is eternal. You're not going to use the brain argument, and the nature argument sucks. There's a lot of holes in it.
And so does the
which one are
God
you going
one.
to choose?
The God one is the worst one.
No, it doesn't,
You have
though.
zero evidence. See, but here's the
It's-
thing. I have evidence nature
It's
exists,
actually-
and I have evidence my brain exists. Where is
Uh-huh.
your evidence that your
Yeah.
magical fairy tale creature is alive and real?
Where in nature or your brain did you find coherency in the world? How do you know that your
Again,
brain or nature is founded in
again,
reality?
I can see nature, and I can, if I, have brain surgery, they can see my brain. So we can prove that these two things exist without a doubt. Now, your idea is that
Well,
magical
no,
fairy
because you're
tale
actually
creature
using
is-
science, which presupposes truth. I'm asking you for the epistemology of truth itself.
I'm asking you for evidence to prove your God exists, and you have yet to do that. You keep asking me questions and redirecting.
It's
That's
a
what we call
reductio
dodging and
argument.
pivoting.
You just don't get it, dude.
I don't
You
need
just
to
don't
get
get
it
it,
because
I
you're
don't need to
just
get
using
it.
big
Okay,
words
dude,
you
then
don't even
you just
understand.
precluded your ability to debate.
You don't.
I don't need
understand
to
the
get
big
it,
words
dude.
You're using,
You just
and because I don't need to get. I don't need to get a
you don't need to
child
get it,
using
dude.
Filbro bullshit.
It just
with words he
is.
doesn't understand.
It just is. Dude,
Oh,
you've got
so
vicious
Magical
circularity.
Magical Daddy exists because you want him to exist, and you have zero evidence other than big words you found on a script from ChatGPT. Congratulations. Great. Now
you can
okay,
you
so
can be mad and ad hom, but that
I'm
doesn't
not
mean
mad.
you've won the
Calm
debate.
down, princess. Calm down, princess.
Well, then why are you calling me
Show
a
me
princess
evidence.
and saying ad
Show
hominems
me-
if you're
because
not upset?
Because you're acting high and mighty,
Oh,
and you're
man.
acting pretentious. So show me evidence your God exists. Go ahead.
Not the 3 million other gods.
Yeah, show me evidence.
Yeah, because
your God
those
exists.
3 million other gods or atheism don't have the same
me-
explanatory power.
Hey, I am your God right now, and your God is telling me you to prove that your other God exists. Now be a good boy and prove it. You may unmute now. You have permission, good boy. Come on. Prove it. Show me the evidence.
I
Show
think
me the
this
evidence.
is a really good evidence of what it's like talking with atheists, because you won't contend with the
Show me
point.
the
Hang on,
evidence.
Decon. Hang on, Decon. Romans. So let's say I grant you that there is a God that exists, right?
All right, so we're muting every single time now. You ask me a question.
Calm down,
and I
good girl.
mute it?
Calm down, good boy. She's talking. The
Decon.
host is talking. You bow down.
Decon, chill. Romans. So let's say I grant you that there is a God that exists, right?
Sure.
Let's prove it's yours.
Yes, that's a metaphysical question within the Trinity. The Trinity is necessary.
Why yours and not, let's say, the Greek or the Norse?
The Greek or the Norse in particular?
Well, there's other ones, but I specifically
So-
said Greek or Norse
Yeah.
because
Okay.
those ones are the two most commonly found ones as of right now.
Definitely not. You would be looking at like Judaism and Islam, which are strict divine simplistic gods. So the argument's actually the same for both. So both the
so,
Norse
Roman,
pagan.
You said
So are you gonna
something.
let me answer your question, or
You said
am I gonna get
something
muted?
I'm not muting you. You said something and I want to correct that. So
What's that?
Islam and Judaism are both part of the Abrahamic religion. I'm talking about outside of it. So in polytheism,
But they're
Greek
not a
and-
part of the Abrahamic religion, though. That's the problem.
Islam and Judaism are part of the Abrahamic religion.
Yeah, they say they are, but they're not because they don't actually believe in Abraham, either of them, let alone the God of Abraham.
Judaism, for one, is quite literally where Christianity comes from. Judaism is the Torah. So,
No.
Yes, it is.
No, the Talmud was made in 400 AD.
Welcome up, guest. Are you 18 plus?
I'm 23.
Wonderful. May we get your pronouns, please?
I don't have pronouns. I'm just a he, him.
There you go. You believe in a God?
Yes.
Which one?
Jesus Christ.
Gotcha. So my friend GM's going to have a conversation with you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Sweet.
So, do you believe your God is good?
Yes, but I don't want to talk. Just find Jesus so you don't go to hell. That's all. Because, you just need to give your life to Christ so you don't go to hell.
Yeah, but Christ makes women get on their knees and beg and call themselves dog. And then
No, you guys would rather be a man and suck dick instead of give your life to Christ. So
Damn right. When
that's
my
very
boyfriend
sad.
asks, I do.
Wait, wait.
Is that worth going to hell over?
Wait, we'd rather be with men and take, the meat stick?
Yes, as a man.
What's wrong with that? I mean,
That's-
God is the one who
I'm
put us-
asking you, is it worth going to hell over?
If
No,
God
it
didn't
is
want me to
not.
stick things in my bum, he wouldn't have put the prostate there. But he did.
A
and it feels
butthole
really good.
isn't for a penis. It's why you poop out a butthole. Why would you have sex with a butthole? Poopy hole. That's disgusting.
Well, why not? There's other things you can do.
Get
Fingers,
pictures.
tongues,
That's
chicken
so
legs,
disgusting. Oh my god.
a Coke bottle if you're good enough. I mean,
Hey,
you-
you're
you-
a freak,
You
GM.
do
All
Coke
right.
bottle. You're free.
I mean, I wouldn't use a Coke bottle. I'm sure some people do. I'm just trying not to shame
So,
anyone.
I don't know. I'm just asking a question. Wait, so when
Okay.
you do things like that, how do you even take a shit after? That's so crazy.
Oh, it's so much easier.
Well, you clean yourself out first. But
It just
what happens if
slides
the
out.
What happens if the woman is pegging you? Is that okay because it's a woman and it's a toy?
No, I don't do pegging.
No, but I mean, what's wrong with that? It's your wife. Like my
gay.
wife does it to me.
It's good.
How? She's just rubbing the prostate, which is a great. It's healthy. It induces
They said
a
that's
lot
a
of
G-spot.
stimulus. Yeah, God put it in her. Yeah, the G spot, the God spot is up her butt, where He put it, and it feels good. Why would He do that if He didn't want anything going there?
Because He made us for different purposes in our life. Like, for example, He made women with wombs and to be able to reproduce and procreate.
But why wouldn't He?
That's
create
what the
it?
vagina's for.
Like, if you really want to preserve women's virginity, like it does in the Bible, you could just hang out with your bros. Y'all have a little fun. You never have to soil any virgins till marriage. So it's almost encouraging to follow God's laws by hooking up with dudes instead of, de-virginizing a woman before her wedding night. So in the way, I'm
No.
doing the Lord's work.
No, and that's not right. Just
Why?
because God puts that out there doesn't mean you have to consume that. Just like He put the knowledge of good and evil tree in Eden doesn't mean they had to eat it. That's temptation. You can't listen to your temptation.
Why not?
Because temptation, when it consumes you, it just leaves you and drops you down. It doesn't really, there's no goodness that comes from sin. Like, yes, you could do it in the moment, it might feel good, but what does it do overall? It's not benefiting you. It's leaving you in a very bad part. It's not satisfying you. It doesn't, like, you sleep with other men as a man. It gives you satisfaction in the moment, but mentally, it's draining you because it's not pure. It's not right.
No, I wasn't drained mentally, I promise. And I didn't have any bad problems afterwards.
But the trauma, you should ask people in the LGBTQ community
Well,
the
if
type of things
if God
they
didn't
have
want
to
me to
go
fuck
through
dudes,
because
then why
people
did He make
encourage.
me want to fuck dudes?
That's something you learn by being on the earth. You can learn
No.
fetishes, you can learn kinks, and you can grow to like
No,
kinks.
sexuality is not a choice.
You never liked somebody, you never had somebody who approached you and you didn't really like them or find them attractive, but because their personality was good or maybe they just kept talking to you, you kind of learned to attract them.
Yeah, no, not really.
That's just natural. That's human nature. Sometimes that happens.
Well, that's great.
Bad.
Sexuality is not learned or chosen.
I feel like how is it not chosen for you to choose to?
Could you choose to find your mother sexually attractive?
You can choose to do that.
No, you don't choose to.
That's incest.
So if you wanted to right now, you could find your mother attractive.
Me personally, no, but some people can if
If
they
you wanted
like
to.
it like that. If I
God
wanted
was
to,
okay
yes.
with incest. God was okay with incest.
No, he was
And in
not.
fact, yeah, he did. He encouraged it. And after
When?
the flood story, there were 8 people alive. 6 of those people had kids. All those cousins had to start committing incest on a mass scale in order to repopulate humanity. They were just cousin loving. And they
That's
weren't going down
actually
the street,
crazy
they were going
that you
across the
mentioned
hall.
that because, like, for the world to be here, they had to do the same. No, it's different. Obviously, God's going to allow that because the world needs to be repopulated. It's not incest at that time.
They were related. They were cousins by blood, first cousins, doing it.
They had to repopulate the world. The Bible says, "Be fruitful, multiply." After
So
the world was multiplied, you can see how he divided the world when the men tried to build the Tower of Babel, and he separated everybody because there's certain laws he had to re-put in place. That's why you have the Old Testament and you have the New Testament with new type of rules for the people because it's a different type of things going on.
God is okay with incest as long as it's needed to help populate a society.
Would you not be okay with incest if you had to live and you wanted the world to grow?
Oh, if there's 6 people left on this
I
planet.
guess in the Bible, what it says, like that ruins the part because the whole part of incest is it makes it disgusting. But when you need it to repopulate the world, it's not really disgusting. It's kind of something you have to do. It's mainly. I get what you're saying. It does seem disgusting, but I think in the Bible we see a pattern here. The only time incest is actually happening is when the world actually needs to be repopulated, which would make sense because who else are you going to do it with?
So there's this really cool thing that God did in the very first book of the Bible where he just made people out of dirt and a rib. Why didn't he just do that instead of
No,
making
he
you
only
do
made Adam
incest?
out of a dirt. Well, because that's when God said he made us out of his image and likeness. So
Yeah, just make more people
after that
in your
point,
image and likeness.
because that's just like a tree. He made a tree that can keep bearing more fruit. That's how that happens. You can't just keep making separate trees and making different fruits. If God did that, then it wouldn't be people of God's image and likeness. There would be different humans. He made one human being, and then from that point, they reproduce and make different human beings. That's why when he made giants, they made different Nephilims and all that different stuff. And they when these angels who weren't angels anymore went down into the earth and they reproduced or procreated with human women, and they created giants, the Nephilims.
Why don't we have any fossils from these 4,000 tall feet giants? Because they would have been 4,000 feet tall. Why don't we have any fossils or bones or any writings around the world of 4,000 tall foot? They'd have to be nearly a mile tall.
Well, I'm not quite sure if they're 4,000 feet tall. How would they possibly be able to reprocreate with a female like a human?
You tell me. I mean, the Bible says, well, the book of Enoch is where they get the giant story and the giants cannibalizing everybody. But in that book, it also says that they were 3,000 ells tall. 3,000 ells, it's about 1.5 foot per ell. So it measures to about 4,000 feet. So
There were different types of giants.
Well, they just said they're 3,000 ells tall. That's all they say. They don't give height differences. But even then, God still flooded the earth and then allowed incest afterwards. And if we go back to Adam and Eve, there's dirt everywhere around the world. He could have created 1 million people with the snap of his fingers, created the universe.
Those people, they have to come from Adam, so they could be human. Adam is a human man, and Eve is a human woman. So from that, they bear human human legacy, human people, human children.
Okay, let's go to Genesis. When Cain unalived Abel, how many people had the Bible said existed at that time?
The Bible didn't specify, but it's up to it. Science and research would justify that there were more people in the world at that time. That's why Cain left, and he was able to find a community, because we don't know how many years passed by at this point.
Well, you would think God would have included that in the story, like, hey, Eve is popping out like hundreds of babies.
Why should he have to though? I think that parts don't really, because like look what it does. It makes us question God. It makes us question so many different things instead of knowing the moral of the story. The Bible would be yay high, like it'd be so big, right? You know, if God included every little single thing. Yeah.
I mean, he could have made multiple books. I mean, look at Stephen King. He's been writing shitloads of
But
books.
God didn't create the books. God gave it to men to create. He told men, these are eyewitness people who passed it on to family. So not every single information is going to be bestowed. Like if you talk to your grandfather, yeah, and you tell he was like, I'm in the war, he's not going to tell you every little thing. He's going to kind of write it down.
But if he only gives you some of the pertinent information, but information that God would know is going to drive atheists to atheism, he could easily solve all that by having created a second Bible. Like, here's the
that's
loophole.
where okay, yeah, but I think that's where we get a little misconstrued, because the Bible isn't for atheists, it's for Christians. And so I think it's up to Christians to convert atheists to Christianity so then they can understand the Bible. If you look at the Bible from an atheist point of view, it's going to be very weird. You're not going to understand it. It's going to sound like you said. It's going to be very confusing. But you have to look at it with the right lens. That's why a lot of people say, read it for context or different factors to factor in, because a lot of times, like even when they say, like, one thing I hate, a lot of Christians try to say women can't be preachers, but in the context of that story, the world was very misogynistic and women didn't have rights to do certain things. There's a lot of female preachers in the Bible.
Well, I mean, it's Jesus and Paul who are the ones walking around saying women aren't good enough to be equal to men.
It wasn't
Jesus.
Paul, but okay.
Well, Paul wrote that women should shut up in church, that they're not allowed to speak, it's shameful. If they have any questions, they go home into the quiet of their home, and then they're allowed to ask their husband for information.
Well, he was going to Colossal to talk to the people, and the men in that, and they were so stubborn that he had to talk to them at the level. They weren't going to receive from Paul if he didn't, because that was the law. That was the law. Even the woman, they believe that. If you go in certain parts of Iran right now and you tell women you don't deserve to be treated like the level of a cat, they're gonna yell at you. They're gonna be like, "This is our culture. This is our religion. This is laws. This is what we believe in." Even women themselves at that time period didn't believe that they should do what they should do. And even if some woman actually went out and did try to speak, they would have got stoned. So him saying that was kind of coming from a perspective of what the laws they had at that time. Because when he went to other certain civilizations, he had women preachers or women prophetess with him.
Okay, so why didn't God make a law? Don't screw with women. They're equal to you. He never said
this. He said he stopped doing that stuff after Moses destroyed the 10 Commandments. At this point, this is the world that is this is after Jesus. So the law has been definitely redone. Now,
follow all the Mosaic laws. He said there's 613 laws. Don't change. I'm not here to abolish them. Don't change one tittle, one jot. Everything's got to stay 100% the same until the earth passes away. That means all the grape laws, all the slavery laws, all the dietary laws, every other one of those laws, according to Jesus, is still in effect. And if you don't follow them, you're going to hell.
No, because at the goalposts changed at that point, because after Jesus died, the main thing was, it doesn't matter what sins, what laws you don't follow. Even though you guys can be homosexual, you can still go to heaven. Because at this point, it's more so about, do you believe that do you have faith that Jesus walked this earth and died for your sins? So it kind of changes, because all that stuff, all the laws, it kind of gets overridden based on how you choose your salvation. If you choose Jesus over if you choose faith. Because keep in mind, at this point, it wasn't a lot of people in the world actually believing in Jesus. That's why the word Christian came, Christ followers. They chose to go out and override any type of laws of their world to be like, I believe that Jesus walked this earth. I believe that Jesus died for our sins, because a lot of people were being persecuted and being killed for saying that. So it was like they were being persecuted for following Jesus, which that shows their faith.
But they stopped following the laws that Jesus told them they had to follow. Like, he directly said, you have to follow these laws. Don't abandon them. I'm not here to abolish. I'm not here to get rid of the laws. I'm not here to change it. They're going to stay the same the way they are till the heaven and earth pass away. I'm just here to help fulfill them, to carry them out, not in them.
He did do that, but then he died. Now it's like he did what he was meant to do. He did his purpose. He fulfilled it.
But he never said the laws end with my unaliving. He said you have to follow them until the earth and heaven pass away.
Well, I think he kind of he kind of saying it matters to uphold it. It's part of Christianity, but it's not the end all be all, because if you give your life to Christ, no matter what, you automatically are going to change the way you do things in life, because you're giving your life to Christ, and now you're submitting to Christ, and you're like, I'm going to die to myself and all my sinful temptation ways. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad that most Christians have decided that Jesus' words and his command to follow all the commandments, and they just disregard that. I'm glad for that, because there's some horrible crap Christians would be doing at this moment if they had to follow God's laws. Luckily, the laws of man will not tolerate those laws existing and being enacted upon in most countries. I mean, according to Christian law, if you follow the laws that Jesus told you, I can go on the street, I can find a virgin, I like her, I can rape her, and then I can go give her dad 50 shekels of silver, and I get to rape her for the rest of my life. That's God's law. He allows that.
That's not God's law. I think that's the men in that
Yes,
time
it is.
interpreting that law. The same way how white men in this world try to use the Bible to justify slavery. I think that's the problem.
These
That's
are
why a lot of people don't want to be Christians, because we take it and we look at it and it's like, there's men writing this. A lot of these men at that time weren't necessarily good men. We don't even know if they all went to heaven. But the whole point that they served was just to communicate what was going on as eyewitnesses, so it can help us dissect it.
Those weren't interpretation problems. These are laws that God directly went to Moses and said, Moses, here's 603 more laws. My people are to carry these out. I am creating these. These are my commands.
The laws changed from the Old Testament to the New Testament.
No, Jesus said not to change them. He specifically said, do not change one jot or tittle. You have to follow all these laws, and the person who follows these, breaks them, will be the least in heaven. Even the least of the laws. You're effed if you don't follow them. Now, Paul came back, and Paul said, no, even though Jesus said you're under the law, I'm saying you're not under the law. So Paul directly contradicted Jesus. And I get it. Most Christians are actually Paulians, whatever you want to call it, because they follow the word of Paul, not Jesus. Paul was popular as shit, don't get me wrong. I don't believe Paul even existed. But the Paul that they claim existed, he overrode Jesus' commands. He overrode Jesus' teachings, and he came up with his own versions, and that's what 99% of Christians follow.
Don't blindly follow the Mosaic laws. Feel it.
Followed the Mosaic laws, and he told everyone else to also.
He's waiting for it to be accomplished. It was accomplished.
He said until the heaven and earth pass away, not till God blood sacrifices me. Not till daddy has me pegged on a cross and run through and I unalive and then wait 3 days and out of one of the 5 tombs that Christian claims I existed in, I floated to heaven. No, he didn't say any of that. He said earth and heaven has to pass away before those laws are abolished or finished. If you are talking while your teacups, I can't hear you. You got to be on the app. You may not be talking, just in case.
Who, me?
Yeah, if you teacup out of the app, if you go out of the app, it shows a little teacup symbol, and I can't hear
Oh,
what you're saying. You
yes,
can
I
hear
was
me,
doing my
I can't
research.
hear you. I read the Bible the first couple times I read the Bible. I was a Christian. I looked at it from a Christian point of view. I begged Christ all the time for help. I begged him not to have my parents, emotionally and abuse me and neglect me. It didn't work out. I was a little kid. I begged to not get beat up in school and picked on. Shit didn't happen anyways. I looked at it and I begged for 40 years. I needed it so badly. It panic attacks, trauma, all that other crap. I needed God and Jesus so badly. And never once did they help me. Not once.
Well, I'm sorry you went through that. That's horrible. But I think
Okay,
whoever did that,
that was me as a devout Christian reading the Bible, trying to find these answers, and then I start reading this stuff. Like, there's a law that God handed down to Moses that says if a woman doesn't scream out while being raped, we're supposed to bash her head in with rocks.
which law says that?
That's Deuteronomy 22, 23 through 24. It says if a man and a woman meet in a city and he lies down with her, if she is to be stoned because she didn't scream out. Now this, if he lies with her against her will and she didn't scream, she's to be unalived. I get it that law has other context too, but you can't ignore the great part of it. You have to acknowledge the great part of it as well. By the way, Robert,
I didn't see that part because it say what?
I do appreciate you staying calm and talking, and actually trying to have a discussion. A lot of Christians on here just freak the hell out. But go to Deuteronomy 22, 23 through 24. Now I should ask Roberto, what version of the Bible do you read? What is your choice? Like,
In the King James to New Living International. I try to read from different versions so I can get different contexts of what they were referring to, so I can get a better understanding.
Do you know the history of the KJV?
Yeah, people say it was because he wanted to justify divorcing his wife or something like that.
Yeah, King James took that Bible apart and had it retranslated to benefit his political agenda. He turned the Bible into a political weapon, a tool. And if you go to scholars, even Christian scholars, will acknowledge that the KJV is one of the worst translations you can use. There is a version called the NRSVUE. This is the top of the line translation. This was done by hundreds of scholars, Christians and secular, and they all agreed on it. I think Jewish scholars too, maybe. I'm not sure. I know it's definitely Christians and secular. But this is the Bible version that's used in Bible colleges, seminary schools. This is what pastors and preachers all over the world learn from, is this NRSVUE. I would advise you investing in that. It's $20 on Amazon, or you can look on Bible Gateway and get that. But that is the premier version of the Bible for any sort of true understanding.
Are you talking about the King James from which time period?
Well, the King James pretty much has stayed the same since King James had it translated. And most scholars will laugh at the KJV if anybody tries to use it for scholarly research or anything like that. They want you to. There's I don't know if you heard me. The version I would advise looking at is the NRSVUE, the Newly Revised Standard Version Updated Edition. By far the best Bible you can get.
I tried to look it up because I never heard that, but it was basically saying the two kings are different. The King James from the Bible versus the King James III.
No. The King James that had the Bible translated was an English king, and he wanted the Bible retranslated to what he wanted, and he had it ripped apart and put back together according to what he wanted and how to justify his political agenda. There might have been a James in the Bible, which there was, but that's different. That's not the King James, the third or something. Somebody will have to look up which time period it was. But he's the one who changed it all. And so, Lucifer is only mentioned in the King James Version, and it's only mentioned one time. That was the first person to ever put that word in there. The word Lucifer was actually a term that the Romans used for the planet Venus. It was one of their people. And eventually Christians, like King James, had it shoved into the Bible to personify the Satan character.
Got it. That's new stuff I've learned, because that's another reason why I think a lot of Christians nowadays go to church blindly, listen to their pastors, but they don't read the Bible for themselves. You can easily miss and graze over things like that if you don't read, like the Ethiopian Bible. I encourage you to get it, because there's a lot of stuff that are left out, especially as we talk about Western civilization using it to be able to have slaves or to be able to be misogynist against women. So I definitely agree with that. I think we need to look at different versions of the Bible.
And I agree. I was a King James Version reader when I was a Christian because that was the one I was told to read. And then when I read the NRSVU, I was like, oh my God, this is just way different. And then I went and researched it, and I found out the NRSVU is the premier, like best, like scholars around the world will say that one's the best one. People who spend their entire lives studying the Bible will say that is the best version.
I agree. I'm going to look at it, but it sounds like it would be good. It probably is similar to the Ethiopian Bible. Even the Ethiopian Bible has different books of the Bible that the Western version doesn't include. And I think they were purposely taken out to abolish the type of black assimilation that was in the Bible. Because let's be honest, a lot of these people in the Bible, you're talking about Islam, you're talking about a lot of Middle Eastern civilizations. It wasn't a lot of Western Europeans. So they wanted to insert themselves in the Bible so they can assimilate their own laws and traditions to basically so they can colonize and take territory and flip that verse.
Now, one of the, like, you seem very rational and you seem very clear-headed and so far, but I would advise you to kind of get a better understanding of the LGBTQ community. It's really not a choice, my man. It really isn't, because I have always identified as straight my whole life. Totally have. But then I would have...
If it was a choice, I would not have chosen men.
Well,
ever.
Sure. And the thing is, like, I have these attractions. I'm not really attracted to men. I'm more attracted to the act and the physicality and the parts. But I can't help that. There was a lot of shame behind it for most of my life. I didn't understand it when I was younger. And then as I got older, I finally came to realize I do have these drives. And then as I got even older and I, met the love of my life, she's the most amazing woman to ever walk this earth. And I am 100% attracted to her. But I still have these, like, acknowledgement of these things that still attract me. And at this point now, I'm just, it is what it is. It's a part of me. Screw it, I'm not going to keep fighting. I was miserable fighting this part of me. No matter how much I've wanted to not do it, and how much shame I placed on it, it was miserable.
Don't put shame on that, though. That's the problem. I think a lot of people put shame on their actions, but God does say, come to him as you are. A lot of people they forget that part. Because now, Roberto, if I'm attracted to doing things with guys, now I'm always faithful to my wife. I will never ever do anything to betray her trust. But I still acknowledge that once in a while, that thought, like, of remembering those things still pops in my head. And I'm what you would call omnisexual. So, but I would really get off everywhere, like, so what if you're gay? So what if you're bi? So what if you want to, whatever? Who cares? I mean, I don't believe in heaven or God, but I believe that you should be a good person and you should live a moral, happy life and just try to help people rather than harm them. And if you do that, what does it matter if there's a God or not? What if there matters if my purpose is, this or that? My purpose is to raise great kids and teach them to be whatever they want. One of my kids is trans. Are you married?
Not officially.
A woman?
I'm not going to sign another government contract, but we have the same commitment as a husband and wife, and she's it for me. So if she passes before I do, which I really hope it doesn't happen, I'm done. I'm not going to be with anyone else ever again. I love her with all that I am.
Have you ever been with a man?
Yes.
While you were with her? Before?
No. I have never cheated on her. It was before her. Totally. I don't cheat. I have when I was in college, and it was a really bad situation, but I was mentally screwed up.
But that wasn't a commitment, though.
Yeah, it was a girlfriend, and she
Right.
had already cheated on me. But so it was just, anyways, it's still not a good reason. But the point is, I'm faithful to the people I'm with. I was married for 12, 13 years to a woman. I loved her. Never did anything outside of it. So who cares if you're with a guy or a woman? Who gives a fuck? If you
But
and
I
I are on the street hanging out and you fall over and you hurt your leg, I don't care if you're straight or gay or bi. I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to help you to a hospital. That's what I'm going to do. Because that's all that really matters, is to reach out to the rest of humanity and help it.
Yeah, that's the thing. With a lot of what I've noticed when I talk to a lot of U.S. people, a lot of people from the United States, their churches don't do workshops centered around LGBTQ or a lot of different things because they're afraid of it. It's like a lot of people deal with these stuff in private, and they, unfortunately, people are so afraid of it that they bash it instead of actually talking about it because it's a problem people actually face. A lot of people get shamed on for it. But if you learn to love people and accept them, you can't shun somebody away from hearing the word of God because of how they choose to identify whatever that is, because they deserve to see God. But I think what I recommend you guys to do, I recommend you guys to go to God yourself, because you can't. A lot of people here, especially white conservatives, claim to be Christian, and they're far from Christian. How can you be Christian and racist? Number one. So I think a lot of what you need to understand is a lot of people claim to be Christians, but they're not really Christians. They're far from it. And when you go to God from yourself, you can understand. You can reason with God. Because God, you could ask God, why did you make me this way? And or why would you make me this way if this is how I feel? Because sometimes God does put stuff in our hearts. And you got to be honest, God does put some stuff in our hearts, and nobody can tell you what's good, what's wrong besides God. And that's why I don't leave morals into humans' hands, because I see a lot of different people raise their kids that what they think is good is not really good. How they train people to believe that racism is something that's good. That's not good. So if we went by morals and what people think, then where would it lie? Where would the goalposts be moved? They keep being moved because different people have standards of what's good and what's bad.
Okay, Roberto, we do have a timer, and unfortunately it is up. I threw you a follow in case you ever have any more questions. I did my search for God, and I'm away from God now, and I'm an atheist, and my life is amazing and happy, and I have some of the best friends I've ever had because of it. I mean, Brett and Ace, if I had never been in the atheist circle, I would have never met them, and I would have never had them as my friends, and I would have never probably come out on alive. But having these great friends is what it's healthy, and I love it. And if there is a God, which I don't believe there was one, and he loves me, then he'll let me in anyways, because I led a good life. So I did toss you a follow. If you have any more questions about any other scriptures or Bible types, please reach out. I'm always happy to talk to Christians or whatever you identify yourself as. Who are
I'm very confident that God will
keep the good energy.
I'm very confident God will at least show himself a version of himself sometime along this week. So if that does happen, don't be shocked, don't be surprised. It's just God saying, I love you, you're welcome home.
All right, Roberto, you have a great day, buddy.
You too.